Imagine a world where you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on heavy solar panels. Instead, you just grab a can of special paint, roll it over your roof, your walls, or even your car, and suddenly you're generating your own electricity. Sounds like science fiction, right? But this is exactly what top scientists and engineers are working on right now. It's called solar paint or photovoltaic paint, and in 2025, this technology is getting closer to reality than ever before. So what is solar paint and how does it work? The idea is surprisingly simple. Solar paint is a liquid mixture that contains photovoltaic materials capable of converting sunlight directly into electricity, just like regular solar panels. But unlike bulky panels, you apply solar paint as a thin layer, often just a few micrometers thick on almost any surface. The goal is to turn any building, car, or even a window into a potential power plant. Where is this technology being used today, and can you actually buy it? Here's the reality. As of 2025, solar paint is still in the testing and pilot project phase. The most significant breakthroughs have come from Australia, with CSIRO and RMIT University in Melbourne leading the research. Their teams are testing paints based on perovskite minerals and titanium dioxide. In the US, research is ongoing at MIT, Stanford, and the University of Toronto, especially with so-called quantum dot coatings. Europe is in the game too, most notably with Poland's Sol Technologies, which in 2024 installed the world's first perovskite solar-coated apartment building facade. In the US, most work is still in research labs and test buildings. Commercial, off-the-shelf products that homeowners can buy and apply themselves simply don't exist yet. What we do have are early prototypes, pilot installations, and demonstration sites where the technology's performance and lifespan are being evaluated. Let's dig into how solar paint actually works. There are several types, each based on different materials. The most promising so far are perovskite-based coatings. Perovskites are minerals that show outstanding properties for converting light into electricity. The big advantages? They're cheap to make, easy to apply, and in the lab, they've already achieved efficiencies of up to 18%. But there's a catch. Perovskites degrade quickly when exposed to moisture or UV light, and some mixtures contain lead, raising environmental concerns. Another cutting-edge option involves quantum dots, tiny particles only a few nanometers across, which can be engineered to absorb specific wavelengths of light. This opens the door to transparent coatings for windows, solar glass, or surfaces where you don't want a visible panel. So far, quantum dot solar paints in the lab reach efficiencies of around 10 to 11%. That's less than the best silicon solar panels, but the flexibility and potential are huge. In Australia, researchers have also developed titanium dioxide and molybdenum sulfide-based paints that use sunlight and humidity to generate hydrogen fuel rather than electricity. While exciting, this application is still far from everyday home use and is focused more on clean fuel production than direct electricity generation. There are also organic photovoltaic coatings using carbon-based compounds. These are cheaper and greener, but even less stable and less efficient than other types. What do all these technologies have in common? They're ultra-thin, flexible, and can be sprayed or rolled onto huge areas, turning previously unused surfaces into sources of clean energy. In laboratory conditions, solar paints achieve between 8 and 18% efficiency, compared to 20 to 23% for top silicon panels. In real-world applications, however, paint still lags behind panels in terms of performance and reliability. So, what are the biggest advantages and drawbacks of solar paint? On the plus side, it's potentially cheap, lightweight, and could cover massive surfaces with minimal installation hassle. It could even be used on cars, boats, billboards, or electronics. Anywhere a thin, flexible layer makes sense. In the future, manufacturing costs could drop dramatically if the technology matures. The downsides are significant, though. No one has yet developed a solar paint that lasts 10 years or more with stable performance. The main hurdles are rapid degradation from sun and moisture, lower efficiencies, and environmental concerns over toxic materials like lead. Performance is generally lower than conventional panels, and current paints require much more frequent reapplication. There are also plenty of myths surrounding this technology. You might have seen viral claims that you can just paint your house and never worry about electricity bills again. The truth is, in 2025, no commercially available solar paint can power a home for years at a time. Every product on the market is still in the demonstration or pilot stage. The best performing paints tested so far last for months, maybe a couple of years before losing efficiency. It's also not as simple as rolling on some paint and plugging into your grid. Like panels, solar paint requires electrical systems, inverters, and professional installation to safely convert sunlight into usable power. What about the state of the technology in the US and worldwide? In the US, solar paint remains mostly in university and lab settings, with a handful of pilot projects in smart buildings. In Europe, especially in Poland and Germany, the first real-world installations are appearing, though on a limited scale. Australia is a global leader, with several test buildings coated in experimental paint. The world's first apartment block with a perovskite-coated facade was unveiled in Poland in 2024. But the real test, durability and large-scale rollout, is only just beginning. So when will you actually be able to buy a can of solar paint and start generating your own power? Experts predict that more pilot projects will roll out between 2025 and 2027, particularly in commercial buildings, smart homes, and solar windows. Widespread commercial availability, where you can pick up a product at your local hardware store, is still at least 5 to 10 years away, possibly around 2030 to 2035, if scientists solve the problems with stability and cost. Early mainstream products will likely appear as solar windows, smart glass, and on building facades before being adopted for typical residential roofs and walls. In the end, solar paint isn't science fiction. It's a real and fast-evolving area of clean energy research. There are working prototypes, pilot projects, and an army of scientists racing to make it as reliable as traditional panels. The next few years will be critical in proving whether this technology can move from the lab to your home. If it succeeds, it could completely change how we generate electricity, transforming every surface into a power source, not just rooftops covered in panels. So, would you trust a can of paint to power your house? Or do you still prefer old-school solar panels? The future might be closer than you think. Subscribe our channel for more videos.